If you want a really big estate car that doesn't come with the kind of premium pricing you'd get with station wagons from the top German brands, then there's not much to touch Skoda Superb. This 4th generation version is even larger than its predecessor, yet more efficient and better equipped. If you're looking in this segment, you'd probably like one.
Skoda Superb has always traded on being big. The standard hatch model's key showroom attribute has always been the astonishing levels of rear seat legroom it offers, plus its big boot. The car's always been the perfect starting point then for the creation of a really huge estate model, something the Czech brand introduced with the 2nd generation version, embellished with the Mark III and continues with here in this much improved Mark IV model. This design uses the Volkswagen Group's new MQB Evo platform, which allows it to be bigger yet still lighter than its predecessor. Sure enough, there's a big 645-litre boot with the seats up and nearly 2,000 litres of space with the rear bench folded down. We're almost into large MPV territory here. And all this from a smart executive-style estate with no frumpy, people-carrying connotations. As before, it's priced at the level of a Volkswagen Passat-style D-segment estate, yet offers even more room than you could expect from a much pricier large executive-class station wagon, say a BMW 5 Series Touring or an Audi A6 Avant. In other words, there's plenty to like here. Early 1st and 2nd generation Superb models tackled twisting roads with all the agility of a cross-channel ferry. The installation of a stiffer Volkswagen Group MQB platform into the 3rd generation model in 2015 helped a bit, but when pushing on it was only truly comfortable if you'd paid a considerable amount more to get adaptive dampers fitted. So it's quite a step forward to find a Superb that, even with passive suspension, seems to feel quite comfortable through the corners. Newfound composure that's mainly down to this 4th generation model's adoption of a stiffer MLB Evo platform. It's not in any way sporty, of course. A typical Superb customer wouldn't want that. It just doesn't pitch about quite like it used to. Plus, there's more turning traction, helped by the Goodyear Eagle F1 tyres, and a little more steering feel too compared to the previous model. All of which will be welcome should the need for you to push along a bit. But this Skoda still doesn't in any way encourage that kind of progress, remaining as before a big, plush, comfortable cruiser that's most in its element on the kind of long transcontinental type trip that you might normally hesitate to undertake in a car of this class. Refinement is enhanced this time round by acoustic glass and a sleeker body, which is 15% more slippery than before. So a bit of the old and a bit of the new, which broadly also applies to the engine range too. All conventional units mated to the usual 7-speed DSG auto transmission. The mainstream powertrain options both develop 150 PS and make 62 miles an hour in 9.2 seconds en route to 139, but are quite different. There's the mild hybrid 1.5 E-TEC petrol unit we're trying here, which has the VW Group's latest 48-volt mild hybrid tech. Or, if you're more old school, the 2-litre TDI diesel, which in volume 150 PS form has nearly 50% more pulling power, 360 newton meters of it, hence a 2,200 kilogram braked towing weight figure. That's 300 kilos more than this petrol model and will be of particular interest to many customers of this estate variant. This diesel can also be had in uprated 193 PS form, in which guise it's mated to a 4-wheel drive system, and for many would, in this guise, make a more sensible alternative to a mid-sized SUV. Talking of sensible alternatives, probably the biggest news on the engine front is the massively improved PHEV drivetrain. The previous generation Superb IV PHEV generally got a thumbs down from British buyers, and understandably so, with a relatively small 13 kilowatt-hour battery yielding just 35 miles of rarely achieved range. So Skoda's had another go, this time equipping the IV plug-in hybrid with a sizable 25.7 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which is supposed to be able to offer driving range of up to 84 miles. The engine that cuts in at the end of all that is broadly the same 1.5 litre TSI 4-cylinder unit we're trying today, but with the PHEV, this 150 PS power plant is mated to 6 rather than 7-speed transmission and works in concert with a 118 PS electric motor, contributing to a total system output of 204 PS. Which doesn't sound a great deal to propel over 1.9 tonnes of Czech real estate. The previous generation smaller battery PHEV IV model had 218 PS. Still, you won't notice the disparity unless you find yourself driving in the kind of manner a typical Superb owner probably never would. And the drive stats are competitive enough, 62 miles an hour in 8.1 seconds, en route to 136 miles an hour. Replicating those stats would involve selecting sport mode rather than hybrid or normal, which reminds us that driving modes aren't something you usually get with a conventionally engined Superb. It says much for the kind of car this is that you don't really notice the lack of them. Those rare folk who stretch right to Lauren and Clement trim at the very top of the range get the option of the fastest available Superb engine, a 265 PS 2-litre TSI petrol unit, which has to be had with four-wheel drive and seems rather pointless given the sort of car this is. With all three engines featured at that top trim level, you'll also be offered the option of paying even more for a dynamic chassis control adaptive damping system, which comes with more direct progressive dynamic steering. At first glance, this 4th generation Superb looks merely a mild evolution in its 5-door and estate forms. Closer inspection, though, reveals some significant changes. For a start, the new MQB Evo platform allows it to become an even bigger car. This estate version's now only a fraction under 5 metres in length, around 40 millimetres longer than before, and the hatch version is 43 millimetres longer than its predecessor. There's also a shallower windscreen rake, which, along with a sleeker roofline, helps this estate model be the most aerodynamic station wagon Skoda's ever made, with a drag coefficient of 0.25 CD, 15% better than the Mark III design. Wheel sizes vary from 17 to 19 inches. We've got 18-inch Dofida rims here. You'll notice changes at the front as well, where slimmer LED headlamps, which deliver 40% more light, flank an octagonal grille, which dips in the centre to allow a larger Skoda badge to sit at the end of the more sharply creased long bonnet. An electrically operated active shutter behind the central front air intake regulates the airflow as needed to keep the engine at its ideal temperature. At the back, a previous owner might notice the slimmer LED tail lamps, though might not pick up the fact that this 4th generation model is 5mm taller but 15mm narrower than its predecessor. Equally subtle is the addition of this more elongated roof spoiler with its side finlets. What has usually sold Superbs in the past, though, isn't cutting-edge exterior design, but a supremely spacious and user-friendly cabin. Time to get inside, pausing as we do to notice that, as usual, almost unique to Skoda, the umbrella built into the door. Well, it certainly feels spacious, basically like the kind of large executive class car you'd have to pay so much more for. Everything you can't see here is shared with the Volkswagen Passat that rolls down the same Bratislava Czech production line. But because Skoda took the lead on the project, the cabin doesn't have a particularly VW-like feel, as we'll see in some ways when it comes to the feel of some of the fixtures and fittings, for instance. That's a little disappointing. Though, when we tested the Passat recently, we did bemoan the lack of this Skoda's useful party piece, these 3 configurable rotary smart dials on the lower part of the centre console. Design-wise, there really is an awful lot going on here. Look at the fascia treatment on the passenger side, for instance. You go from rubberised dashboard top, above this curious serrated strip middle section, then on through double-stitch faux leather to this unusual grained trimming panel. Look around and buttons have been banished, while on-trend sustainable materials feature everywhere. Apparently all the cabin textiles are now 100% recycled. Plus there's a smartly improved ambient lighting system and Skoda's rather weird steering wheel design that misses out on the usual lower spoke. A previous owner would notice that the gear selector has now been moved to a steering wheel stalk too. The days are long gone when you had to pay extra on a Skoda for a digital instrument screen. As you'd hope, this 10.25-inch virtual cockpit display has been improved for this fourth generation design and can of course show itself in a choice of formats, the key central info flanked by either dials or boxes. You can change the background to your chosen format, prioritising either drive assist features or navigation mapping, and add trip data to the central part of the screen. If you want it, a head-up display is optional. Everything else you'll need can, of course, be found on this now much larger 13-inch central touchscreen, a new generation setup we've now tried on a variety of Volkswagens, and which is a big improvement on what went before, not least because of the way that the added AI-based ChatGPT software now extends the functionality of the LoRa voice assistant. This monitor usually displays in this sectioned format with widget boxes spaced around the features you use most often. Here we've got nav mapping flanked by radio, phone and voice system boxes. The other way of accessing screen features is by clicking on this top right car button, which reveals the more usual range of home screen icons. However you choose to view, along the bottom frame of the screen are shortcut options for apps, music, phone, navigation and climate, plus in the centre you can access Skoda's SmartLink system, which connects you into the car's now wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connectivity. Earlier, I mentioned these three smart dials. They're not actually that smart. The two outer control climate, but the centre one can also be configured to deal with audio volume, map, zoom, or even drive modes. Something else I've referenced earlier is the slightly cheap feel of some of the cabin fitments, like the outer bezels of these dials, or the silver rotary controllers on the steering wheel. On the plus side, the seats are really excellent and come as standard not only with four-way lumbar support, but also a massage function with 3 air cushions. You'd expect plenty of Skoda's so-called simply clever cabin storage, and by and large there's lots of it. This twin-lidded box between the seats has an elasticated strap, a 12-volt socket, 2 lift-out trays, one of which is for your sunglasses, and here's a neat touch, a felt-covered bar you can use to clean grubby finger marks off the central screen. Why has no one else thought of that? The glove box and the flock-lined door bins are big, and there's the Czech manufacturer's usual ticket clip on the A-pillar in the corner of the windscreen, together with another on the sun visor. We'd argue that not including a USB-A port isn't very clever, though. It necessitates the fitment of this converter lead to go with the 2 USB-C ports that reside in this lidded cubby at the base of the centre stack, along with a wireless charging mat that now charges quicker and cools your handset while it's doing so. There's an additional USB-C port built into the rear view mirror. And a further lidded compartment between the seats conceals twin cup holders, and there's a narrow coin tray by the electronic handbrake. Let's take a seat in the back. Now, you'll expect a lot here from a Superb if we tell you that the only car in the whole of the Volkswagen Group portfolio with more rear seat legroom is an Audi A8 long wheelbase limousine. And sure enough, there really is a limousine-like feel to the way that once inside, you can stretch out back here thanks to a wheelbase length of 2,841mm, the same as before. The designers have mounted the front seats a little higher than the norm so that rear folk can stretch out their brogues beneath them. But unless you're of basketball-playing stature, that probably won't be necessary. You won't want for headroom either. This estate version's headspace measurement at 1,008mm is 22mm more than the hatch, allowing for the fitment of a panoramic glass roof to this body style as an option. 3 folk could fit quite comfortably across the back here, but 2 travellers get the use of a central armrest, which now has a cup holder lid that can double as a tablet holder. Otherwise, all the practical touches you'd want feature here. 2 USB-C ports, decently sized door bins, overhead reading lights, rear climate controls with twin vents, and no fewer than 4 coat hooks. The front seat backs have twin pockets, and side window blinds are optional as part of a family pack that also gives you comfier rear sleep headrests. Let's finish as usual with a look at the boot area, but on the way we'll reference another familiar Skoda touch, the ice scraper built into the fuel filler cap. Said scrapers now apparently fashioned from more sustainable material. Good to know. Here, as you've seen, we've got the estate body style. The tailgate, which is now powered above base trim and can of course also be activated with a swipe of your foot beneath the bumper, rises to reveal the expected cavernous space. 690 litres, 30 litres more than the Mark III model. It'll be 645 litres with the hatchback version, 20 litres more than before. New for this 4th generation design, above base trim anyway, is an electrically operated load cover. Annoying though that Skoda wants to charge extra for an adjustable height boot floor, which only features with the estate. You can't have that, by the way, if you choose the PHEV drivetrain, which also drops boot space in this estate to 510 litres. But just look at the space. It allows for so many boot configurations that Skoda provides a QR sticker to help you remember them all. We like this covered left-hand side loading compartment, ideal for valuables. This deep recessed area off to the right is useful too. And then there's the fact that Skoda seems to want to set some sort of record for side cargo wall bag hooks. There are 2 on each side. There's a 12-volt socket on the left as well, and the inner tailgate incorporates a warning triangle and helpful lights which shine down into the cargo area to help you load up at night and maybe avoid scuffing this somewhat impractically finished silver loading lip panel. There's a vast amount of space beneath the floor, but only because Skoda refuses to fit any sort of spare wheel as standard. A more versatile 40-20-40 split backrest hasn't yet made it to the Superb, but you don't need it because the ski hatch features as standard. Fold everything flat in this estate and you free up as much as 1,920 litres of space, or 1,770 with the plug-in hybrid model. So yes, it's all very practical. Britain's the 3rd biggest global market for the Superb, and as before, over half of sales will be to fleets. At the time of launch and of our test in autumn 2024, Skoda was asking from around £35,000 for this 4th generation Superb. That's for the base 1.5 TSI E-Tech 150 PS version. We're trying that engine here. It's around £1,500 more if you want the alternative 2-litre TDI 150 PS diesel. That base price we just quoted is for the hatch body shape. Most Superb customers will continue to want this estate body style, which requires a £1,300 premium. This station wagon, by the way, is the body shape you have to have if you want a plug-in hybrid drivetrain in your Superb, which, as we filmed, was priced from around £41,500 and uses a 6-speed auto. All other Superb models have the usual DSG 7-speed auto setup. With the previous generation Superb, there was a reasonable uptake on the 4-wheel drive versions from people fed up with the idea of an equivalent SUV. So further up the range, Skoda's continued that option here, either with a more powerful version of the 2-litre TDI diesel with 193 PS, or with a top 2-litre TSI petrol model, which offers 265 PS, which only comes with 4-wheel drive and which hardly anyone will buy. To be able to choose either of these 4x4 variants, you have to ignore base SE technology spec and choose either mid-range SE-L spec, which is what we have here, or top plush Laurin and Clement trim. The name references Skoda's founders, in case you were wondering. But if you go for top spec, you rather negate one of the main reasons for choosing this Skoda in the first place, namely its value proposition. Now, to give you some perspective on that, let's consider the most direct market alternative to this car, its development stablemate, the Volkswagen Passat. That Wolfsburg brand model now only comes as an estate, and in that form, it'll cost you roughly £2,000 more than the like-for-like Skoda with exactly the same engineering. Otherwise, direct alternatives are thin on the ground. Once upon a time, almost every mainstream brand competed in this segment. Now there's only Peugeot, whose 508 sells weekly here in fastback or SW estate forms. For reference, a 508 hybrid 225 plug-in costs about the same as an equivalently specified mid-range Superb IV PHEV 204 PS SEL model. You might also consider that 508's similarly engineered Stellantis Group stablemate, the Citroën C5X, though that's only offered as a hatchback. It would save you quite a lot over this Skoda, though, around £8,000 in base 1.2 litre PureTech 130 form, or around £3,000 as a plug-in hybrid. You might also be considering saloon or estate versions of the premium badge models you'd get in this segment, say a BMW 3 Series, an Audi A5 or a Mercedes C-Class. But those are far smaller inside and, like for like, pricier. A 3 Series, for instance, starts in base 320i form from around £39,000 as we filmed, with the equivalent Mercedes C-Class pricier still. If, having considered all of that, you conclude that it is a Superb that you really want, then you'll need to know just how generous Skoda has been with standard spec. So let's take a look at that now. Starting with base SE technology spec, which includes most of what you'd want. That means 17-inch silver alloy wheels in a Mintaka design, LED headlamps, front fog lights, LED tail lights, rear privacy glass, power folding mirrors and silver roof rails on this estate version. There's also adaptive cruise control, which works with a travel assist setup that actively supports the driver in longitudinally and laterally controlling the vehicle. Inside, with base SE technology spec, there's heated front seats, a 10.25-inch virtual cockpit instrument display, a rear view camera and a wireless charging mat, plus a 13-inch central touchscreen with navigation, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There are all the usual benefits of the Skoda Connect ownership app as well. You probably won't be expecting a massage function for the driver's seat and an umbrella in the door at base trim level, but Skoda includes them here, though, irritatingly, wants £100 extra on the hatch version for a rear wiper. Our only other comment would be that the standard loft interior package is a bit grey and dour. There's a much better lounge trimming package that lifts the cabin quite a lot, but it costs around £2,000 more. And if you're going to spend that, you might as well upgrade yourself to the mid-level SEL trim spec that, as we told you earlier, we've chosen to try here. With this, you don't have to worry about upgrading the trim package because it comes as standard with a much nicer sweet black interior finished in a combination of real and artificial leather. If you prefer a lighter coloured interior, Skoda offers its sweet cognac design selection interior trimming package as a no-cost option at this level. Other standard SEL features include larger 18-inch Dofida silver alloy wheels, intelligent matrix LED headlamps, animated LED tail lamps, keyless entry, a power-operated tailgate. Inside, with SEL spec, there's ventilation, 14-way powered adjustment and memory settings for the front seats, and cabin ambient lighting, plus a boot net and an electrically sliding parcel shelf for this estate. If you really must have your Superb tinselled up like a Christmas tree, then you'll want the top Lauren and Clement versions. These come with bespoke sweet black or sweet cognac design selection, interior trimming packages, plus 18-inch Bellatrix alloy wheels, a more advanced 8-program massaging system for the front seats, and a 15-speaker Canton sound system, which you can pay extra for with this SEL trim. Lauren and Clement spec also gets you 2 key Skoda option packs that cost extra on the other models. The winter package, which gives you heat for the steering wheel, the windscreen and the rear seats, and the parking package, which gives you an area view surround camera setup and a park assist system that'll slot your Superb automatically into spaces. You have to choose a Laurin and Clement spec model, by the way, to be able to add Skoda's optional dynamic chassis control adaptive damping system, which comes with more direct progressive dynamic steering. Talking of options across the range, we'd want to consider Skoda's family package, which gives you sun blinds for the rear windows and rear side windows, rear sleep headrests with a blanket, a bin in the rear door, a rear armrest with an integrated tablet holder, and rear side airbags. It's just slightly annoying that you have to pay extra for a variable height boot floor, which you can only have on this estate, and you can't have at all with the PHEV. And unless you choose the only standard paint colour, solid energy blue, you'd have to pay Skoda £680 extra for one of the available special or metallic shades available. By the way, we've got metallic cobalt blue here. Other options you might want to look at include a head-up display and a tow bar, which is electrically retracting. On this estate, you can add a panoramic sunroof as well. Also, slightly annoyingly, you have to pay extra for a space-saver spare wheel. On to safety, an area where Skoda continues to keep this model well up to the highest class standard. Now, from launch, this fourth generation Superb was rated by Euro NCAP as the second safest car it tested in 2024. This model achieved 87% of the available NCAP test points, scoring 93% for adult occupant protection, 87% for child occupant protection, 82% for vulnerable road user protection, and 80% for safety assist systems. That's been achieved partly thanks to the body structure's intrinsic strength. It incorporates hot-formed, high-strength steel components. This steel is mainly used on the A and B pillars, the firewall and the tunnel console. In an accident, the occupants of both models are protected not only by the rigid bodywork and generous crumple zones, but also by up to 10 airbags. The other reason this car is so highly rated by Euro NCAP is thanks to its more advanced multi-function front-facing camera, which adds quite a lot to the number of drive assist safety systems this car can offer. There's now a turn assist feature that safeguards you at junctions, for instance, plus new nano radar sensors positioned in the right and left corners of the front apron further enhance the performance of assistance systems such as the front assist, emergency braking system or crossroad assist. And nano radar sensors in the rear apron increase the range of the side assist blind spot monitor. Skoda's also improved its attention and drowsiness assist setup, which monitors driver behaviour, assesses their potential level of fatigue and triggers visual and acoustic warnings if necessary. The front assist setup also includes predictive pedestrian protection that specifically searches for pedestrians who might be about to step out in front of you and, if necessary, can initiate braking to avoid them. All Superb models also get Lane Assist Plus, which alerts you if you drift out of lane. And across the range, all variants get dynamic road sign display, which pictures speed signs as you pass and displays them in your eye line, which also works with a predictive speed limiter, which uses GPS data to automatically regulate your speed for greater efficiency. The usual passive safety features are fitted as well, of course. There are twin front, side and curtain airbags, plus a centre airbag to stop front seat occupants being thrown together in a crash, with all the bags linked to a pan-European emergency call service that alerts the rescue authorities if you're in an accident and they go off. As you'd expect, you get ISOFIX child seat fastenings and anti-whiplash front head restraints with an active tyre pressure monitoring system as an option. On top of this, there are the usual electronic systems to try and ensure that none of these features will ever be needed. That means ESC stability control and an ASR traction control system. There's ABS braking, of course, a hill hold assist feature, stops you from drifting backwards on uphill junctions. And panic stops will be advertised to following motorists by automatically activating hazard warning lights. Like its Volkswagen Passat close cousin, the Superb suffers from the VW Group's rather baffling decision not to have developed a self-charging full hybrid engine. As we told you in our driving section, for customers of mainstream Superbs seeking some sort of electrification, there's only a choice of either the somewhat ineffectual 48-volt mild hybrid tech we've been trying here, or the pricey option of the Superb IV plug-in hybrid, which is why there's likely to continue to be a strong take-up for the powertrain that still probably suits this Skoda best, the 2-litre TDI 150 PS diesel. This manages up to 58 mpg on the combined cycle, usefully better than this 1.5 E-Tech 150 PS model's 54.2 mpg showing. But as usual, the diesel lets itself down a bit on CO2 emissions, a best of 128 grams per kilometre, compared to the mild hybrid petrol's 119 grams per kilometre best possible showing. The mild hybrid tech with this petrol model works as it usually does. The 1.5 litre engine working with a 48-volt belt starter generator and a 48-volt lithium-ion battery that gets charged through regenerative braking energy delivered when coasting or off throttle, at which point no emissions are being discharged from the engine, which uses ACT Plus, or active cylinder management, to cut its use of 4 cylinders to just 2 at light to low throttle loads. For real frugality though, you've to turn to the IV plug-in hybrid model, which, as we told you in our driving section, now has a much larger 25.7 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which is supposed to be able to offer driving range of up to 84 miles. As usual with PHEVs, this skews the combined cycle fuel figure well into fantasy land. Here it's quoted at up to 784.3 miles per gallon. In reality, you probably wouldn't do much better than would be the case with a frugally driven diesel variant. And with the PHEV, you'd have to put up with a smaller fuel tank, 45 litres, as opposed to the usual 66 litres. But the important thing is that the HMRC believes the IV model's quoted CO2 figure up to 8 grams per kilometre, so a low benefit-in-kind taxation rating is guaranteed. The PHEV battery now supports DC charging at up to 50 kilowatts, which is much faster than the old-shape Superb IV, which was limited to just 3.6 kilowatt AC charging. That means a 10 to 80% battery top-up will take around 25 minutes, while the new 11 kilowatt onboard charger allows full home battery replenishment to take as little as 2 hours. A more typical 7.4 kilowatt garage wall box would need around 4 hours. For those who simply don't care about electrification and benefit-in-kind taxation, there's the top 2-litre TSI 4x4 model, which returns up to 35.7 mpg and 180 grams per kilometre. For the equivalent 2-litre TDI 193 PS 4x4 diesel, the figures are up to 48.3 mpg and up to 153 grams per kilometre. What else? Well, bear in mind that if you spend over £40,000 on your Superb, which is quite likely, then you'll have to pay the usual vehicle excise duty surcharge levied on top of the normal annual VED tax. This will apply from the second year the car's taxed until it's 6 years old. As for servicing across the range, the recommended intervals for all engines are based around a 20,000 mile or 2-year regime. And you can budget ahead for maintenance costs by taking out a fixed price, prepaid servicing plan at point of purchase that covers the first 2 scheduled garage visits. The dashboard's centre monitor offers service, tyres and oil level maintenance readouts, and you can monitor ongoing frugality via since start, long term and since refuelling efficiency screens. As for residual values, well, experts predict a similar figure after 3 years and 36,000 miles to that of a Volkswagen Passat, so 46 to 47%. Insurance groupings are lower than that Passat though, starting from Group 23 as opposed to 30 and rising up to Group 35 for the 2-litre TSI petrol version. Finally, while it's certainly true that other rivals better the 3-year, 60,000 mile warranty that Skoda provides, you can extend your cover to 4 or 5 years by paying extra. Not that you really need to. The brand regularly tops independent consumer satisfaction surveys. According to real people, there are few more satisfying cars to own. There are lots of SUVs and still a few MPVs to tempt family car buyers at the moment, but there's life in the traditional estate car yet. Skoda's Superb estate might not be the trendiest option your family could choose, but its luggage carrying potential is vast and the rest of the package stacks up very well as well. This fourth generation version offers useful steps forward in technology, efficiency and style. And for most family customers really would make a more sensible alternative to a much smaller but similarly priced mid-sized SUV. So there you have it. If you've between 30 and 40 grand to spend on something spacious but not too frumpy, you'd probably quite like one of these. Your Czech mate? Quite possibly.